This is Joyce Hanson conducting an interview with Lori Moss for the Murrieta Oral History Project, April 28, 2008. Hey, hi, Lori.
Hi.
Okay, we're going to talk about Murrieta and your role in Murrieta. Now, how long have you lived in Murrieta?
I've lived in Murrieta since June '99.
Okay, and did you move there because of the job, or?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you were there long after incorporation happened?
Yes, about 8 years.
Okay. Do you know anything about the incorporation, the background to it, or?
I'm probably not the best person to ask about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you were the 4th city manager, I think Al said. Is that correct?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So when you were city manager, what were some of the things that Murrieta was facing, and what things did you have to deal with as city manager?
The bad stuff or the good stuff?
Either. Up to you. Whatever you want to talk about.
Well, when I was assistant city manager and city manager, I did economic development. And during that time, we attracted a lot of sales tax generating businesses to town, which helped augment the budget with revenue, of course. I don't know if you want examples or if you have that. Or
No, I definitely want examples.
I'm sorry?
I definitely want examples.
Okay, so several of the shopping centers, Village Walk, which has a lot of businesses in it that at the time were some of the first in the region. Babies R Us, Bed Bath & Beyond. And then several of the restaurants I worked on, we implemented a restaurant incentive program where we gave them a grant of $50,000 to help them with some permit fees to come into town, to help them make the decision to come into town. And some of those that we attracted, R.J. Sizzlin from Temecula, the large steakhouse, and even to this day, there's always a waiting line to go in and eat. Chili's, which is nationally known, and Applebee's, which is nationally known. We also, during that time, attracted 3 car dealers.
Okay.
Mitsubishi, Volkswagen, and the other one. Suzuki, I think.
Okay.
We also developed the Sam's Club Center. I think it's called Murrieta Springs. I'm not for sure. I'll have to check on that. But it has Sam's Club, Chick's Sporting Goods in it, and several smaller type restaurants.
Okay.
But the restaurants were very important during that time because there were so many families down.
Yeah, that, now, before Murrieta got its own restaurants, people would go, I would assume, to Temecula if they were going out to eat or something like that?
Right, and that was part of the issue, that we had a lot of sales tax leakage.
Oh, okay.
To Temecula.
Okay. Yeah, I know one of the reasons for incorporation was people didn't want to be part of Temecula, so
right.
I assume that's a major issue with money going out of the city.
Right. So the cool thing, when we did start getting some of our own retail and restaurant hospitality kind of businesses, the residents were very, we educated them, and they were very understanding and cooperative in, shopping locally because, we educated them, paid for police and fire and parks and roads and everything, and they, totally understood to shop locally, and that was a really easy pitch.
Okay, how did you do that education for them to shop locally? What kind of things did you do?
We worked with the chamber, and they had, years ago, they had a shop locally plan, but more recently they promoted it in their newsletter. And then we also instituted, under Al's direction, a newsletter that we use a lot for education purposes. And if you go back and look at some of those old newsletters, you can see a lot about shopping locally, shopping in town.
Okay.
And we also got our first hotel during that time, Comfort Inn.
Okay.
So that was some transient occupancy tax that was needed. And we got a couple nice office projects. And I think got one of the city's first Fortune 500 companies in Phoenix University landed.
Okay.
You know, there's so much that I can talk, but I don't know what all you want.
Well, anything you can tell me, I appreciate, because no one else knows this like you do. I mean, you were there, you were, working on it, you know what the negotiations were, what you were looking for out of this, and how well it worked, and the impact that it had.
Yeah. I think some of the things that were probably some of the most difficult, but the most important and came with a lot of pride for the community and the council people is the infrastructure, the road improvements that we made.
Okay.
And at least one of those years was a major rainy year and created a lot of havoc with the projects being slowed down and almost stopped at some point.
Yeah.
And it was not very well received by the community because it slowed them down. They had to take detours. But when it was all done, and now that I drive around and look at it, it's pretty amazing. There was a couple years where we did so much infrastructure, it was unbelievable. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is the way we worked with Caltrans to get the freeway improvements done and the bridges completed. Los Alamos is already open. Clinton Keith is work at the 215, and Linnell Road is being constructed right now. So even though it was at times it was very negative, and I think maybe part of my leaving the city, we go around now, it's like after you have a baby, you don't remember all the bad parts.
Right. Yep.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Widening of Jefferson Avenue, which opened up, that corridor better with Temecula, and brought a lot of service businesses and car places and what else is in this? I'm looking. A lot of furniture stores, which is a great sales tax generator. Just a lot of service related, a lot of auto type service related.
Okay. Tell me the job of city manager. Let's go there. What does a city manager do? I mean, on a day-to-day basis, what are you responsible for as city manager?
Well, we're responsible for managing the city and everything that goes on in it. Since Murrieta was a full-service city and had its own police and fire department, it included those aspects as well. And so the fire chief and the police chief ultimately reported to me. And at the time, we had over 300 employees. And we're responsible, for library services, police and fire, and parks and recreation, just the management of all of those. And then at the same time, during that time, it was one of the busiest growing times in Murrieta in Southern California. And so there was a lot going on. And the team in Murrieta the employee team was just fabulous. They went above and beyond the call of duty all the time to get to provide service to the community.
Okay. And who were the people who were part of your team?
Al, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and the department heads and the employees. I don't really want to
Okay, no problem. No
anybody specifically because it was a group effort.
Okay, no problem. So essentially, your job then was to build up the tax base and build up the infrastructure at that point.
And economic development, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
you're right.
Okay. And that was it's kind of a daunting task, wasn't it? I mean, it's...
Yes, yes, very much so.
Yeah. Lots of long hours and lots of negotiations I see here.
Yes, yes. Yes, a lot of negotiation, a lot of long hours, a lot of cooperation, a lot of education,
Mm-hmm.
public information, yeah.
Okay.
Communication with council and,
Right.
yeah,
Now,
big job.
was the council, were they, how do I want to say this? Were they supportive of the development?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, for the most part they were.
Okay. And let's see. So how? I mean, I know this impacts in a positive way because it builds up the sales tax base and it gives the city more money and more services and whatnot. Were there any downsides to any of the development?
I think because of the infrastructure that they have to, when businesses come in, they're conditioned to pay for their own improvements.
Mm-hmm.
So they build the roads all around and put in traffic lights, what have you. And I think that inconvenience was probably a negative for most of the residents.
Okay.
And just that maybe it didn't happen fast enough for some residents,
Mm-hmm.
the services that came in. And maybe, we didn't get everybody's favorite restaurant in.
You never
That part.
do. Yeah, you never do.
I make everybody happy all the time.
Right.
That's the life of a city manager.
Yeah, that's got to be hard on you, dealing with that. I imagine it's a stressful job.
It is very stressful.
Yeah, but you're doing it again.
I am. Yes, I am. And it has its own stress too, even though it's a smaller city.
Okay. What?
Love it. I do love it.
Oh, good. Well, what prompted you to get into city management? I mean, was it something?
Actually, it's Steve Mandoki. At the time, I worked for the County of Riverside out in the desert, and I was managing the Riverside County Fair and National Day Festival,
Mm-hmm.
and doing economic development and job training and block grants, and I was managing the county's eastern operations for economic development.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Mandoki called me in December '98 and told me that he had an assistant city manager job open that focused on economic development, and that he heard I might be interested because a friend of mine that I used to work with in the county, Jim Miller, was at the time the Murrieta community development director, and so he gave Steve my name, and we ended up talking, and things were just right. I came out and visited, and it was just right in my life, my family's life, to make the move.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I was the assistant manager for about 7 years in Murrieta.
Mm-hmm.
The city manager, and focus on economic development and oversee planning, building, and engineering, all the development.
Okay. All right.
So.
All right. Well, is there anything? I mean, I know it's a kind of a short interview because I just have just a few questions for you. But Al wanted to make sure we got to talk to you because it was such economic development while you were there. How things kind of just came together.
Right.
So.
I was one of the first to get us going to the International Conference of Shopping Centers, which is a big trade show up in Las Vegas once a year.
Uh-huh.
And there's, I don't know how many square feet, you could probably go on and look, but there's just like hundreds of national and regionally known businesses, developers there, and that's how, you know, we were able to, it took 4 years of talking to get In-N-Out Burger here, and now they're finally open, and it took, I don't know how many, 2 years of Applebee's talking to him at ICSC and following up with phone calls and letters to get them here. So there was a lot of work done there, and it was hard work. I mean, you know, if you've ever worked a trade show, you're on your feet and
yes, you know,
everything. So
yeah,
that was a pretty good thing too.
Okay.
And just all the sales tax, I mean, it was pretty amazing the way when it happened and the way it came in. But a lot of it was because of the demographics of the community, because the community had really good demographics with income levels and home ownership and the value of the homes. You know, that was attractive to a lot of the businesses too.
Do they have minimum standards for those things?
They very much do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It depends on who it is, and they vary, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how they determined where to put their restaurants and things. Okay. Well, I think that's all I have to ask, unless you have something more to add. I mean...
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was mostly the economic development,
Right.
you know, part.
Well, that's a really important part, and I'm glad you could tell me about that. So, all right.
You've already heard, you're not doing the recall stuff and all that, are you?
No, not yet. No one's wanted to talk about it, which is fine. I mean, people get to choose what they want to talk about, so that's fine with me. But I just have a few more people to interview, and we're almost done. So.
Okay, good. Great.
Well, thank you so much, Lori. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And when this is completed, what we'll do is I'll send you a transcript, and then you can make any corrections, and then when you get it back to me, we deposit it in the archives in the city library.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.